friends on the screen as well as new faces. I'm glad our community keeps growing. And thanks very much, Ali, for organizing this event and inviting me. I'm so happy. We're just 1 week away from the kickoff of the 6th United Nations Global Road Safety Week. So this is a very timely event happening in strange times, of course. We are still in the middle of this pandemic. Some countries are doing a bit better, others still in a very difficult situation. It makes it sometimes difficult to talk about road safety, but it is also, I think, something we have to do because we have to already start planning the post-pandemic period. And we don't want to go back to where we were. We want to go back to a better world and take the opportunity that things have stopped a bit or are being reconsidered to take into account some of the factors, some of the lessons learned, and plan for a better world. And this should be a world where we can travel on our roads in full safety, where we don't pay this incredibly high price for our mobility of having 1.3 million people dying, 50 million people being injured every year, year after year on the roads. And if we are going to do that, it's going to mean tackling speed. Speed is a major risk factor, a major contributor to these huge numbers of deaths and injuries, and we have to address it. This is why we've decided to dedicate the 6th Global UN Road Safety Week to speed in general, and more specifically to speed in urban areas, in those areas where we have a mix of people walking, cycling, driving, public transport, where a lot of people are at very high risk. We know that about half of the people in the world drive over the speed limit when they drive. And we know that for every kilometer above the speed limit driven, there is an increase in 4 to 5% in the risk of a fatal crash. So it is a big, big issue. We also know that a pedestrian, if hit by a car at 50 kilometers per hour, there's only a 10% chance of survival. While if it's at 30 kilometers, it's a 90% chance. So it's a huge difference. And we can learn from those lessons and implement programs. We are calling next week for implementation of better speed limits and enforcement of those speed limits in urban areas, but also for changes in the infrastructure to reduce speed, for changes in vehicle technology, as well as for changes in all of our behaviors. So it's possible, it's doable. We just need to implement it and call for it with lots of energy. We have examples. We know that in London, in the UK, in New York, in the US, in Graz, in Austria, it has been done and it worked. We know that many Spanish cities, or most Spanish cities, are going to implement this as of next week. So we have good examples from countries where there is commitment that this is possible. So let's just do it. And it's in our hands. I think it's in hands of governments, it's in hands of civil society to demand it, in hands of all of us here on the screen to work together to make it happen. So thank you so much for having me, and I hope you would like to have, you will have great discussions during the webinar and the webinars to come. Thanks, Ali. I'm really sorry I will have to run. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Etienne. Thank you. And it was great to have you with us for the opening of 3 webinars. Thank you so much. And I know you have another meeting. So I say bye to you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you to the Etienne for joining for this opening. And let me introduce our next speaker. How was it going well with you to share your presentation, or?
Let's to check. No, I can't share because I see that the screen sharing has failed to start. Can you help me how to
I think
share?
It's just, because I have given you the permission. So maybe we can go to the next presenter. So, and we will check with you if it would be possible at the end of other presentation. So I want to, let me share my screen to introduce the next speaker. Yes, we had almost Dr. Laurie Moran is with us today. She has a PhD in road safety from the University of New South Wales and an MA in sociology. And she's a great and renowned road safety consultant. And we had the opportunity to work with him on a speed management project in Iran. And also, she's a United Nations Road Safety Collaboration member and the principal author of the Speed Management Manual, and also Senior Road Safety Policy and Program Manager at New South Wales Government. Thank you. Before asking Laurie, I'm asking all of you to mute yourself to be able to have the presentation and listen more clear. So I want to invite Dr. Laurie Moran to the floor and have her presentation. If you can hear me, Laurie, floor is yours.
Yes, I turned on share screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
But it is paused. You can see it now?
Yeah, we can see it very well.
Oh,
just
terrific.
put it on. Yeah, just put it on the full screen and it would be great.
Okay, presenter slideshow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, it's the presenter slideshow. If you put it on the slideshow only, because we are
press the swap displays. No, press swap displays.
Is that right now? Is that showing?
We can
Sorry,
see both. Yeah, the presenter view.
Oh, it's still the presenter view. Oh,
I can
press the swap displays.
Swap displays.
What was that, Elena?
Swap displays. Press the button next to it.
Yeah, here on the top, you can see swap displays.
Stop video, stop.
No, it's next to the use slideshow. So you have and shows use slideshow and swap displays next to tips.
Yeah.
Try to press the swap displays.
Your mouse is just near the mouse.
Swap.
Remote more.
Swap display.
Display. I'm sorry, I don't see it. More.
It's got two little arrows. It's to the right of the use slideshow at the top.
Within PowerPoint, not within Zoom.
Oh, within PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I stop then? Intro.
Laurie, move your mouse slightly to the right.
We are waiting.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So now I'm in PowerPoint. So I do.
A slideshow and.
Slideshow.
And
it's still showing.
This is swap displays.
Display.
You can see swap displays. We have intro, user slideshow.
There.
Swap displays.
Swap displays.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. So Etienne has already introduced the scope of the problem that we're dealing with, and it is a quite important and huge problem. So I'll start first with talking about the definition of speeding. As as determined by the European Conference of Ministers of Transport. Speeding encompasses excessive speed, that is driving above the speed limit, or inappropriate speed, driving too fast for the conditions, but still within the limits. Both of those are dangerous activities. So the speed problem, as a problem, it's a risk factor it's twofold. One, it increases the chance of loss of control crashes, and also it increases the severity of injury in the event of any crash. And speed is a major factor in it's estimated, it's estimated 30 to 40% of fatal crashes. And arguably, says my colleague Soames Job, it is a factor in every injury crash because it's the velocity of the crash that causes the injury. So in the transport sector, speeding is, it's jumping around. Speeding is actually rewarded. So people that are driving trucks and light transport vehicles are often urged to deliver things quickly. So it's a risk factor that is actually encouraged in some industries. Speed is also, I don't know why it's doing this. Speed is also the most contested road injury risk factor, which presents big challenges for us. So part of the problem is that humans are not very good at judging risk. So they drive to the optimal risk that they think they can manage. But my friend Anders Lee put these pictures together to show us if we actually saw the danger for what it really was, then maybe we'd behave differently. And the other problem is that we're not actually risk averse as humans. We always operate at the level of highest risk that we think that we can handle without being hurt. So with more confidence, we target our risk behavior to a higher level. So for example, this is why advanced driver training has shown poor results, because people feel that they're more confident, they can handle the vehicle well, so they drive a bit faster, and they're actually more dangerous. So experience tells us also that we can take risks. There's an optimism bias, but also we can speed quite often and nothing happens. So in our daily lives, if we're driving every day, we don't always crash when we're driving at excessive speeds. Now, this is just the science of how long it takes, why we have to set speed limits at lower levels than most currently exist. The perception and reaction time is approximately 1.5 seconds. And that is when the driver sees, hears, or feels something's unusual, then identifies this as a hazard, and then goes through a decision process to decide what course of action to take, swerve, apply brakes, change lanes. And then the driver can begin to react and, for example, start to apply the brake. But in all this time, no deceleration has happened. The car is still going at the same speed. So if we then go on and take that 1.5 seconds, and then add to that the distance and time it takes to actually stop the vehicle, that is the real braking distance. So this was prepared by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau to show you how far you drive in emergency braking situations before your car comes to a stop. So if you're driving at 80 kilometers per hour and you start to detect you've got to slow down or do something, it will take you will be traveling for another 58 meters before you come to a stop. Now, if you're driving at 30 kilometers per hour, you'll travel about 14 meters, 14, 15 meters. So this is why the 30K speed limit is really important in areas where we have vulnerable road users like pedestrians and cyclists. I don't know if this will work, Ali. I'll give it a go. This is an Australian television commercial that talks about this and demonstrates this rather graphically. So I apologize if it upsets people. Let's give it a go.
I'm a trauma surgeon, and I want to reconstruct what happens to the human body in less than 0.2 of a second when hit by a car braking from 70 kilometres per hour over a braking distance 50 metres. Even in a car equipped with ABS, the first impact will occur around 46 k's. The bumper hits the knee joint, tearing flesh and ligaments. The full weight of the skull smashes through the windscreen. The neck snaps, the skull shatters, and the pedestrian's brain is turned into pulp. In little more than a second, the pedestrian's body will hit the road with a 70% chance of being dead. And had you been braking from 60 k's, not 70, there's a good chance you could have stopped in time, and the pedestrian would have suffered nothing worse than a severe fright. Think about it.
Okay, and people, sometimes when they see that ad, they blame the pedestrian. They say the pedestrian did the wrong thing. But the reality is that it's very difficult to tell pedestrians how to do the right thing, and humans make mistakes. And so we have to just make sure that those mistakes don't become fatal ones. So this curve was developed by Ramberg, and it shows the fatality risk levels at different speeds, different collision speeds. And as you can see, the risk of fatality goes up very, very sharply. In the case of a pedestrian or cyclists, you are raising your fatality risk very sharply from, say, 35 kilometers per hour. It goes almost straight up. And so for different kinds of vehicles, we have a pretty good idea, different kinds of crashes, I should say, we have a pretty good idea about how fatal they're going to be, depending on the speed. But this is sort of the good news. This is work by my friend Joran Nielsen and Rune Elvik, which looks at the changes in crashes when you change the mean speed. So what it does is it shows that with just incremental changes in speed, you can either accelerate the level of crash risk or decelerate. No, shouldn't use that term for speed, but anyway. So, you know, if all is the same, it's in the middle. But if you reduce speeds by just 5%, you'll get say a 20% reduction in crash risk. And if you reduce it by 10%, you've got say a 35% crash change. So this is all I want to say, except that for the SAFE system, and we're talking about SAFE system as a principle that underlies our original decade of action and carries over to this one. This is the way we want to do. We know all the things that cause crashes, and we know what to do about all those things. And they involve interventions in roads and roadsides, road user behavior, and safe vehicles. But speed, I argue, is the pivotal factor that we all must address, because it's speed that makes the difference between an injury and a non-injury crash. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Laurie Morin. Very interesting presentation to start this webinar series. As you know, we'll talk about different topics. We will cover from the looking in general why we are talking about the speed as a major problem, and we'll go through other topics like what is the role of decision makers in doing something to control this risk factor, and in other webinars also we'll cover like engineering measures, and also what's the safe speed, and we talk about the speed and the enforcement, and also changing the behavior, campaigning, and also the evaluation. So I kindly ask you to be with us in other webinars as well. But also I'm asking the participant, if you have questions, to use the chat, the box to ask questions from the speakers, and we'll collect this question and ask the panel at the end of session. But now I think I can ask Hormoz to talk about the Iran speed management project. I will share my experience since there was problem with this PC, and I will ask him to start his presentation. Okay. Now, I think, yeah. Okay, let's start.
Okay, Ali, thank you so much.
Over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As Ali said, I'm Hormoz Zakeri, General Director Assistance of Transportation Safety in Iran's Ministry of Roads and Urban Development. And now I present you a project about speed management in Iran to demonstrate enhancement safety model corridors, focusing on a speed management based on safe system and also results-based management approach in Iran. Before that, I, Hormoz Zakeri, as the representative of Iran's NRSC, Iran's National Road Safety Commission, declared the NRSC support of this week and also the slogan Love 30. And I'm so glad to participate in this meeting about the important issues of safety. First, I present you about the problem of traffic accident in Iran. Road traffic accidents are one of the leading causes of fatalities and injuries in Iran, and the accident fatality rate is now 19 people per 100,000 populations, which is higher than the global average. And road safety is one of the priority of the government and also Ministry of Roads and Urban Development as the president of National Road Safety Commission. And for this, we are developing and implementing road safety actions for next 5 years. Next slide, please. As you see, the trend of annual road fatalities, road traffic accident fatalities in Iran since 2001, 2002 to 2019. And as you see, the number of fatalities are high, and we are worry about these fatalities. And as I said, we try to reduce these fatalities based on road safety actions, but by focusing on some issues such as speed as one of the risk factors. Next slide. As I said, speed is as a risk factor is one of our priority in our strategic plan and also a road safety action plan. And we done and implement some interventions in our road networks to reduce the effect of speed on road traffic fatalities, such as installation of fixed speed camera, portable speed cameras, and laser guns, and the traffic calming as one of the measures to reduce speed, and also navigation system to control public fleet speed. In recent years, we developed and also revised driving acts, and we added violation notification such as negative points, and also educational system improvement in driving acts revision. But we know that these actions are not enough to reduce the speed effects on accident and also fatalities. Next slide. As I said, we are responsible for National Road Safety Commission Secretary. This commission consists of members from ministers and organizations that play main role in road safety, 16 national ministers and organizations, and also have authority over all the organization backing by law, and this commission hosted and chairing but Ministry of Roads and Urban Development, and the Ministry of Roads and Urban Development is president of this commission. But why speed management discuss, and we'll discuss in this meeting. We know the importance of speed. Speed is a critical risk factor for road traffic accident, and also in Iran, we know that more than 25% of accident because of speed, and also we know the speed effects on severity of accident, and speed management is not only highlighted in the Decade of Action Framework on Road Safety, but also is highlighted in the Iran's 10 years strategic plan on road safety. For this, next slide, please. We know the deficiency of speed-related actions in Iran. Still no guideline for speed management in Iran. Lack of modification for posted speed due to the very real surrounding conditions at every section of the road, and also non-efficient operation of a speed camera and non-efficient law enforcement. Some of the participants of this meeting visited our road networks. Lori, Greg know enough about our problems in speed management and also law enforcement and guideline of speed management in Iran. Next slide. And for this, we define a speed management project in cooperation with WHO, and to facilitate the formulation of a safe system approach in the national road safety system in cooperation with WHO in the EMRO region, and Iran has been nominated to demonstrate an applicable model of SSA in EMRO, and speed management was defined as one of the main project to implement in Iran, and finally to demonstrate enhanced safety corridors focusing on the speed management based on safe system and also result-based management approach. And to finalize DAME and having a stable benefits, we started to do a project based on international consultant to run a pilot project in a speed management. After the recommendation of international speed management, and the project was approved in the meeting of NRSC by the minister to the IMING preparation of a guideline for speed management in Iran. And this project was decided to be inter-province in 6 corridors, about 600 kilometers of Iran's road networks. Next slide, please. Next one, Abi. After approval of this project in NRSC, we developed a task force leading by NRSC and also country office in Iran, and multiple task force was formed for the project at both national and provincial levels. This task force, all stakeholders participate to this task force, from road maintenance and transportation organization, traffic police, Ministry of Interior, and also Ministry of Health and Medical Education, in cooperation with our colleagues in these 3 provinces, and also by cooperation of WHO office in Iran. Ali?
Mr. Biplab, may I ask you to stop sharing your screen? Oh, it's only one participant can share, but I'm not sure why. Okay. Sorry for that. Okay, can you?
Okay, thank you.
Go on.
Next slide. Yeah. To do this project, we have some site visit and some meetings with stakeholders at national and also at provincial levels, in cooperation with our international consultant. Next slide. Yes, a workshop in Islam province. Lori, you can see your participation in this workshop and site visit. Next slide, please. And next slide. As you see, we try to take the participation of all stakeholders. From RMTO, from traffic police, and also our colleagues in province. Since the multiple actions were found in the project, the governance pillar conducting by NRSC focus on 4 main routines: facilitating cooperation, conducting, coordinating through a mechanism so that all the pillars work and have result efficiently, establishing a reporting program, and also actively participate in technical processes such as SME, road safety engineering, and so on. And for we develop a mechanism and also a governance structure Ali,
Sorry, this one, yeah.
yes. This structure and this mechanism cover all pillars of road safety in this project, road engineering, law enforcement. Next slide, please. This project, as I said, consists of pillars related to this project: road safety engineering, law enforcement, social marketing, post-crash, and in-depth crash investigation, and also monitoring and evaluation. For all of these pillars, we developed protocol and also design interventions to reduce the risk of traffic in this in the pilot corridors, that we can see some of these interventions and also our actions that were done during the project in last year. Next slide. In road safety engineering, next slide. We try to cover all risks that are in our road networks: uncontrolled access points, no clear zone, guardrail ends, inappropriate pavement, unsafe zone, warning, residential zone, and also compromised clear zone. Next slide. We visited all corridors based on road safety inspection protocol, and we classified our road networks based on their functions, and the analysis severity, injury risk based on model based on the crash occurrence, crash severity, and also we determine the speed limit cap analysis, and also and finally we design or determine the speed limit in each section and also segment of these corridors. Next slide.
Your time is up. If you can speed up the presentation.
Okay. Please. Okay. We finally had a opening ceremony for this project in the last meeting of National Road Safety Commission. The minister approved to implement the interventions designed in this project. And now we are in the implementation phase of this project to reduce the risk in road networks, to change our police enforcement in road networks, and also we develop a framework to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of our interventions, and we hope that we reduce accident in corridors and develop a guideline for speed management in Iran, and also share our experience with other countries in the region and with other countries. Thank you so much, Ali, and all participants.
Thank you so much, Hormuz, for letting us know about the details of this wonderful project. And also I want to thank you, Lori, Ray Shui, Greg Chambers, and all of the teams to help us on this great project. Hope we will be able to see the results in coming 1 or 2 years to see what's happening after implementing these interventions. Okay, I want to
Thank you so much, Ali. You are one of the main part of this project. Thank you so much.
thank you. It's my honor to be among this team members of this project. I kindly ask some of you that raised your hand to ask something to use the chat box for your question, and then I will ask the question at the end of presentations. We will have Q&A session. So I want to introduce you our next presenters that will have a joint presentation on road street management and the decision makers role and what is called the political will. The first will be Dr. Alina Burlako. She has a PhD from Technical University of Civil Engineering, Bucharest, and she is the program manager and senior transport specialist at Global Road Safety Facility at World Bank and managing the Bloomberg Philanthropies initiative for global road safety called the BIGRS program, running in different countries. She will talk about the program more during her presentation. And also she has been before the personal advisor to the Prime Minister of Romanian government and also assistant professor at Technical University of Bucharest. And so we will have the Greg Smith. Is always smiling man. Many of you message me that you know him. He is working in different IRA project around the board. He has a bachelor degree in civil engineering from University of Wollongong and a master degree of public policy from Austrian National University. He is now the global program director of International Road Assessment Program and supporting the establishment of local road assessment programs and leading the star rating for schools and training and accreditation of programs around the world. And he also has been the research manager at Australian Automobile Association. I'm sure that it would be a great, another great presentation. I want to ask Alina to share her screen, and then we will have the Greg with us. Thank you for joining us, both of you, for this webinar. The floor is yours. We don't have your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very well.
Hi, Ali. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation, first to Ali, for organizing this event, and thank you so much I'm very happy to see so many people joining this event. I think it's a really good idea to have this event just ahead of the UN Global Road Safety Week. So we'll have many more events in the next this week and next week also. And speed is definitely a very important subject. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm really happy to see so many faces from Facebook, from LinkedIn. We've been connected. We are connected on social media, so it's really nice to see many of you also joining this webinar. So thank you, Ali, also for the introduction. Our presentation, and Greg will be joining me in this presentation to discuss a bit around speed management and political will, because we know a bit about the data, but how do we actually make it happen? How do we convince politicians that speed is very important and they need to react? So first of all, I think that we need to talk about the numbers, and the numbers are usually very strong. So whenever you are able to discuss with politicians, make sure that they know what is happening and make sure that they know how speed is actually very important. Because when thinking about the global impact of fatalities and serious injuries, actually around 650,000 people are estimated to die annually in road crashes because of speeding. And although this is most likely an underestimated number, for example, in high-income countries, it is estimated that speed is responsible for about 30% of deaths on the road, while in some low and middle-income countries, this percentage increases to almost 50%. Although many studies indicate this level of contribution, many also qualify this to be an underestimate and making speed as a major contributory factor to a much higher proportion of road crashes. As Laurie was mentioning in her presentation, even if speed is not necessarily the main cause, it can make the difference between a light injury, severe injury, and death. So speed is definitely a big contributory. Also, more significant is that reductions in speed can result in substantially greater level of fatals and injury reduction, around 60%, more than 60%. And this basically indicates that the impact of speed is likely to be much higher than the 30% mentioned. And this is actually recognized by key documents, including the UN Global Road Safety Performance Targets, the Stockholm Declaration, and the UN Global Assembly resolution adopted on August 31st, proclaiming the second decade of action for road safety and naming speed as one of the top priorities that countries should consider. For example, the UN Global Road Safety Performance Target indicate in Target 6 the need that by 2030, halve the proportion of vehicles traveling over the posted speed limit and achieve a reduction in speed-related injuries and fatalities. Having this global target is extremely important, and this is one of the issues, one of the main targets that you should be also focusing whenever you're trying to reach out to politicians and convince them. Unfortunately, around speed always has a lot of myths, and I would like to also briefly mention to you some of the myths that usually politicians think of. So one of them is that speed isn't actually a major cause of road crashes, or the fact that changing my speed won't have an impact on safety. And unfortunately, this is one of the most spread myths. And we know the truth is that those that are working in road safety already know that there are many studies showing that even small changes in speed have a big impact, especially on the most severe crashes. And for example, a 5% reduction in travel speed will lead to a 20% reduction in fatal crashes. And briefly, for example, the photo on your right is actually from a dear friend of mine that actually lost his life on a road just a couple of months ago. He was just 19. He was traveling by himself during nighttime. It was raining and he was speeding. The road was absolutely empty, and he lost control of the vehicle and he hit a culvert. So this tells a lot on how speed is important, because if his travel speed was lower, this crash wouldn't have happened. In addition, if that culvert wouldn't have been there, if the road would have been forgiving, again he would still be alive right now. So there are so many things that we need to consider whenever we talk about speed, and making sure that that roads are also designed for the appropriate speed. As Ali was mentioning in my introduction, I'm managing from the World Bank GRSF side the global program on Bloomberg Philanthropies Initiative for Global Road Safety. And this is basically the Bloomberg Philanthropies. I'm not sure how many of you know, but the Bloomberg Philanthropies is actually the biggest single donor in road safety. And in February 2020, so a bit over a year ago, they launched their third Bloomberg Philanthropies Initiative for Global Road Safety phase, Big RS as it's called, which is a $240 million initiative that builds from the success and impact of the previous two, in which World Bank Global Road Safety Facility was also engaged in the past decade. So this new phase of the Big RS will run until 2025 and aims to save 600,000 lives and prevent up to 22 million injuries in low and middle income countries, focusing on 15 countries and 30 cities. In this new phase of the Bloomberg initiative, The World Bank GRSF will focus mainly on national level work in selected countries, and we will also be engaging governments in priority countries to support their efforts to adopt safer road infrastructure designs and improve existing road networks to accommodate all road users by conducting assessments of high-risk roads, providing recommendations for safety improvements, technical guidance on speed management, and also supporting governments to adopt or improve crash data management systems. So what you see, speed is a big component of this program, and actually one of our goals is to establish a speed management hub for the initiative, but not only. Basically, the speed management hub is available for everyone globally, and this would be to provide technical expertise on speed management strategies to countries, cities, and anyone interested, and make sure that we help them deploy countermeasures along risk-prone sections of the national and regional network to achieve a significant reduction in speeds, and also including analytical work related to the economics and benefit of speed management. Some of the work that we do under this hub is also some guides. We have a global speed management guide that has been prepared, and next Thursday on May 20, we will be doing a pre-launch of the global speed management guide, which was prepared together with the World Resources Institute, and we will also be launching a low speed zone guide together with WRI. I hope you'll all be joining that event to discuss more on these two technical documents. And we're also working on a research on the economics and benefits of speed management. So this is also very exciting research that we are working on, and hopefully the results will be helpful in making sure that we convince politicians to better manage speed. Under this global speed management guide, we were able to prepare a platform, an interactive platform, which includes an extensive list of frequently asked questions related to speed, and also digital resource library, videos, and anything related to basically to speed. We are aiming to have this website as a one-stop shop. So anything that is related to speed, we are hoping that you'll be able to find here. This is still work in progress. It was launched in February during the Transforming Transportation conference, and this platform is being updated regularly. So you'll see that the frequently asked questions, we have 8 sections, as you can see. Also, this is a print screen on your screen, the website, and we are regularly adding more frequently asked questions. So I'm encouraging you to take a look at this website, at the page, and you also have the option to ask your own question. So in case you want to know more, if you see that your question is not being answered, let us know. We have a very big team of international global experts working on road safety that will be able to address your question. Also, some of the guides that you might find interesting around the speed cameras also, and my manager, my boss, Soms Jobs that Lori was also mentioning, he's the author on a very interesting note, 6 graphs that tell the story, which shows you the history around road crash trauma, climate change, pollution, and the total cost of speed. This note is extremely important. We have it translated in Spanish and Vietnamese also. And for example, I think this is an extremely powerful tool that you can show to politicians, and they will understand better that actually they are losing money by not properly managing speed. And just before I go a bit into some case studies, I'd like to tell you also a bit about another myth that is very common. And this is the fact that usually politicians, they say that the public or the communities, they want higher speed, and usually communities, they don't like low speed. But this is actually just a myth. And there are plenty of studies and surveys showing actually the contrary. And one such example is from ESRA, and you can see on the screen, you can actually see here the link that I encourage you to access. This is an e-survey of road users' attitude, and you can find the results from 35,000 respondents from 32 countries. I would strongly recommend you to go online and check their website, as they have very interesting data. From this specific survey, less than 20% of the respondents considered acceptable to drive faster than the speed limit, with less than 10% in built-up areas. And believe it or not, up to 90% of respondents suggested traffic rules should be stricter. So people do want to feel safe and reduce the speeds. And please do a survey to help convince the politicians. I have actually just done one a couple of months ago on one of the World Bank finance roads in Samoa. And despite the fact that politicians were asking for higher speeds on one of the main roads of the country, citizens actually expressed their concerns for their safety due to lack of traffic calming measures. And this actually helped us manage the project better, and together with the road authority to add some raised pedestrian crossings and make sure we add some traffic calming measures that make force basically drivers to slow down. And I would also, as I mentioned, just a few case studies. I'll start with showing you just briefly telling you about one of the projects under the Bloomberg Initiative in Bogota. And basically we had, this was a project together with our partner with the International Road Assessment Program with IRAP. In total, we had the opportunity to assess in Bogota around 200 kilometers of roads. And using that data, we could then help the city perform a series of what we call scenario tests to see what the impact would be of changing speeds. So IRAP actually, the IRAP tool is extremely useful to see what are the star ratings depending on the speed that is used on that road. And what these maps on the screen are showing are examples of this type of testing for just 2 of the roads. On the left, you can see what the motorcycle star ratings are based on traffic speeds at nighttime when congestion is low and vehicles tend to travel much faster than is safe. The roads are mostly 1 and 2 stars. In the middle, you can see the ratings for the roads based on the official speed limit, which was 60 km per hour. In fact, because of congestion, actual speeds are usually lower than this during the day. And you can then see in the maps on the right how the star ratings improve if the speed limit is reduced to 50 km per hour. And here we assume that there is good enforcement of that limit. This kind of testing to examine the impacts of speed changes help to build the evidence to support a move to reduce and strictly enforce speed limits. In October 2018, the city was able to reduce speed limits from 60 to 50 km per hour on 5 major corridors, which together accounted for a quarter of the city's road deaths. This was accompanied by active police enforcement. In fact, around 50 speed cameras were installed around the city, and the effect was just dramatic. According to their early reporting, month-on-month deaths dropped by 34%. That is 13 fewer deaths in that month compared to the same month in previous years. Most of those lives saved were motorcyclists. In the star rating maps, you can see where the star ratings changed because of the interventions and where they did not change, but where future interventions are highly likely to save more lives. I should also add that here that the city has done a lot of other good work, including on bicycle lanes and pedestrian crossings at school also. And before I give the floor to my colleague Greg, I would just briefly like to share with you a video from the World Bank GRSF on speed management. And this is a case study from Accra, also under the Bloomberg Initiative. Ali, please let me know if you can see the full screen and also if you're hearing the sound.
Mariam Kasim attended senior high school who met an untimely death on their busy road due to a speedy car.
We have a major challenge with overspeeding in Accra now. As at 2017, 70% of the road crash victims were pedestrians. It's been reduced to 55%.
It is not by chance that the results are getting better. The road safety project supported us technically. That led us to make progress.
I am a firm believer that road safety should start from the design stage. In Ghana, our road agencies use IRAP to be able to treat those areas that crashes occur.
People will definitely make mistakes on the road. We need to use a safe systems approach where we're not just looking at the roadway, but we're looking at the policies, the roadway, the engineering, the enforcement. It's a whole systemic picture.
And this is actually the website that or the road safety, the speed management hub that I was mentioning about. So feel free to check it out, the overview, frequently asked questions, and also the resources. I will be sharing my screen again and head it over to Greg to tell you more a bit. Actually, Greg, if you want to add anything on Bogota, Colombia, in case I missed it, and then I'll let you to present a bit on the work we've been doing in Bangkok together.
Thanks, Alina. And firstly, thank you, Ali, for setting this webinar up. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. And thank you for Hormuz and Laurie for your presentations as well. I really got a lot out of those. And thank you everyone for joining as well. Alina, I won't add anything to Bogota. You did a splendid job of talking about that. But if you could take us to the next slide, that would be great. So this is another really practical example of how we were working with the Global Road Safety Facility through the Bloomberg work to use the tools that we have to try and influence the political debate about road safety. So in the capital of Thailand, in Bangkok, when we were working there was calls by some to increase the speed limits on some of the major roads. It was partly driven by the concern of the city about congestion. And this is a real problem that we have dealing with cities all around the world, is they're very often struggling with just completely choked, congested roads. And there's a concept often that if you make the roads bigger, if you put the speed limits up, you're going to be able to deal with the traffic congestion problem. And we know that's not true. In fact, there's charts on the website that Alina shared that really show that the optimal speed for safety and for managing congestion is actually quite a bit lower than what people think. And Laurie was totally right. We are rewarded very often for putting speeds up. There's very often an incentive to reduce the travel times from point A to point B. And that can very often lead to higher speeds and higher risk. So to inform this debate that was happening in Thailand, we took the IRAP data that was already produced and did some more of this scenario testing to help illustrate the impact of the changes. So that chart on the right-hand side, those two charts, really show the output for one of what they call the outer ring road. This is a really major ring road around the outside of the city. You can see the top chart, that shows the percentage of road that's rated 3 stars or better. And so in an IRAP assessment, 1 star is the highest risk and 5 star is the safest. So at the speed limit that it was set at 90 kilometers an hour, 75% of that road was rated 3 stars or better. If you moved the speed limit down to 80, you would get up to 85% 3 stars or better. But if you move the speed limit up to 120, which was some of the proposals being put forward, that would reduce down to about 25% of that road would be rated 3 stars or better. So it would be, and put another way, 3/4 of that road would be in the high risk 1 and 2 star category. We can also quite easily then forecast the numbers of fatalities and serious injuries that would happen with those different speeds. So at the 90 kilometer an hour speed, there's 121 serious, like fatal and serious injuries happening each year, which is very high. It's quite a long road, but very high traffic volume road. If you put the speed down to 80, that would drop about 30% down to 85. But if you put the speed up to 120, the numbers of deaths would more than double. Way up, well over 200 deaths and serious injuries each year would be expected. So very significant cost in terms of lives and injuries in terms of making that change, and unlikely to be any real change in traffic congestion. We also did that same testing on some of the more local and smaller roads. And the photo on the screen isn't a particularly small road, but for Bangkok, that is one of the local roads. And again, we looked at the impact of changing the speeds, and it had very significant changes in the star ratings of the roads and the forecast numbers of deaths and serious injuries. So it's a good example about how data and some analysis and combined with the evidence can be make a really strong and impactful case to help influence and political decisions and help add to the advocacy efforts. Might jump to the next slide, Alina. In terms of the tools that we're trying to make available to complement the stuff that Alina was talking about, in the Road Safety Week that starts next week, we're going to be publishing another edition of the Star Rating for Designs with our friends at the Global Designing Cities Initiative. This document was originally put together by the NACTO team as part of the Bloomberg work. With the support of Bloomberg and the facility with them, we're able to add star ratings to this global design guide. And next week, we're going to be publishing it, I think of it in its 4th language. So it's going to be available by then in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. At the same time, we're also going to be publishing a series of short animations that bring some of these designs to life. And so hopefully you'll see some of those going around on Twitter and LinkedIn and the other social media platforms. This guide is really powerful in giving a very visual feeling for how the road can change with some smart design, but also changes to speeds. So in this case, you can see an example of a typical city environment. Where the intersection is, you can see 1 and 2 star ratings. And on the right-hand side, you can see some improvements to make better space for vulnerable road users, including for the bicyclists and pedestrians particularly, but also lowering that speed down to that 30-kilometre-hour level. And like Etienne said at the start of the presentation, that is the key call for the Global Road Safety Week next week. And that theme is going to be running for a long time to come, I'm sure. So that guide is very much in support of that Streets for Life effort. Another set of tools that we have available that we really encourage you to take a look at and make the most of is the Star Rating for Schools initiative. If you go to the website starratingforschools.org, you can find out all about how that works. That is a tool that uses the IRAP methodology and again, very much focuses on the impact that speed can have in terms of risk for children around schools. And we know that children, their behavior is very much different than the behavior of adults on the roads. And so very sensitive designs around schools are needed to ensure that those environments are very safe. But it also has really important linkages to encouraging children to keep walking to school. We know from experience and my own experience working in government that parents, if they don't feel like their children can safely walk to school or ride their bicycles to school, they're going to put them in the car and drive them to the school. And that creates all sorts of additional challenges. So it's not just about safety, but it's about safety enabling healthy lifestyles as well. So on the next screen, you're going to see an example of one of the schools that's been improved in recent years by the team led by Amend with the Zambia Road Safety Trust. And you can see on the left, one of what the school looked like before that team went in and helped improve the environment, and then what it looks like afterwards. A key feature of that design is the way that speed is managed. You can see that that's a pedestrian crossing there, but it's a raised up crossing. It's just slightly higher than the rest of the pavement. And you can see the top of the crossing, it meets very level with the sidewalk there. So it's very accessible for the pedestrians, but also means the cars slow down when they approach and go across the pedestrian crossing. So that sort of crossing is something that I'm really keen to promote. And in fact, in that video that Alina showed, Juliet, you will have seen speaking. She was one of the engineers that worked on this project. So yeah, she has obviously a lot of experience in the region on safety. That location went from 3 stars right up to 5 stars. And we know when we talk to politicians and decision makers, that simple message, you can get this school to 5 stars. It counts for a lot. That simple, powerful message can be really important in driving a decision to make improvements at a school. And we know that it's based on evidence. It's not just a feeling that it's 5 stars. The data is telling us that that's what it's going to be like. So really powerful tool, and it's available for you to take a look at as well. And on the next slide, I am going to also just share with you what we call the Star Rating Demonstrator. So if you go to the demonstrator.vida.irap.org, It's a really powerful tool that uses the IRAP model and enables you to jump in there and experiment a bit with how you might change the road design and look at what the impact on the speed, on the star ratings would be. So you can say, okay, what if we added a sidewalk on this road? What would the impact on the star ratings and therefore the risk of death and serious injury be? And again, speed is a really critically important part in that. And one of the important features in that that's really, I think, essential to know is that we think of speed in two parts. One is the speed limit and one is what the actual speed is. And in these assessments, what the actual speed is the one that really, really matters most. If actual speeds are 70 kilometers an hour, but speed limits are 40, we're going to think about what the impact in terms of safety is at 70 kilometers an hour. So that's a tool that's totally free for you to use. You can go out and do a star rating at any location as long as you have a photograph of that location, or you can use Google Street View if it's available where you are, and produce a star rating. And that can be really powerful in helping your advocacy in terms of safety. There's a how-to video link there on the screen, and I'm sure Ali will be able to share these slides afterwards, so people will be able to jump in and take a look at that if you want. And next slide, Alina. I'm going to now share my screen, if that's okay, and I'm going to show you a short video that we've made as part of a series with the Global Road Safety Alliance. And actually, thank you very much to Ali for helping us to produce this video. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and play it. Okay, that doesn't seem... Wait, I'm going to start again. I don't think that worked very well.
We don't hear the sound, Greg. I'm not sure if you're
Yeah,
supposed to.
I don't hear it either. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
And then
I
you
think I
share again.
I made a
Yeah.
blunder. Okay, share
And-
sound.
Yes.
Optimize for video clip. Okay, let's try again. No, I'm sorry, it's not working.
Do you want me to try? Because I have it also in the presentation, right? It's the link.
Yeah, why not? Give it one shot.
So it's the same
I'll stop
link.
sharing.
Okay.
So it turns out road safety experts are not that much expert on online meetings and PowerPoint.
My name is Mahan and I am in Emad Street, Mashhad City. I love my streets being 30 kilometers per hour because low speed streets are safer for children to walk, to play and to live.
Excellent, thank you for that, Alina. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to be publishing these animations of the city design guide with the star ratings. So you'll see them come out on the social media platforms next week, but we've got dozens and dozens of these sorts of videos as well that we're making with our friends at the Global Alliance. So they will be available as well. So you're more than welcome to take those and share them and reuse them in your presentations as well. So hopefully that's been helpful. And that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Greg and Alina, for this wonderful presentation. I think apart from the examples that you showed us from around the board, also you introduced different resources that our participants can refer to and use them in the programs, speed management, and during the week and after that, and for different use. And the Speed Management Hub is a wonderful initiative so everyone can use it for looking at what we can use to convince decision makers to start something in our city, in our region, in our country. So it would be a wonderful example. Also, we will share these recordings and also presentation with the participants. They can use it again and look at that again and use these wonderful resources for what they are doing to promote road safety in their countries. So I think we have like 13 minutes left for Q&As. I have some with mine from the chat box. Also, I'm asking people to use the chat box for asking the questions. Let's before I'm asking everybody to mute yourself so we are be able to ask questions from the panels. Before going to the question, I want to also talk about the second decade of action, and we heard that the global plan is now open for consultancy. We don't have Etienne with us to talk about this, but I think Laurie, that is the member of UNRRC, can talk about what's going to happen in this global plan, and we have the draft on the WHO website. Can you, Laurie, give us more information about what's going to happen in the second global plan for the second decade of action, please?
I'm afraid I didn't attend the last meeting of the collaboration, so I don't have the up-to-date version of what the plan is. It's the plan's out for consultation, so I suppose what we want is to get some feedback. Some of us tried to ensure that speed management was very prominent in this decade plan as a very important issue. So I'm sorry, I don't have any updates.
That's fine.
Beyond that.
Yeah, thank you. And one more question for you from Amira from Tunisia ATPR, asking about, do you think we should consider or addressing the gender when we are talking about the speed management? Laurie? Well,
It's an interesting one. Certainly, the young males are the highest risk group. And one of the things that we've been trying to promote is for the rights of passengers, for example, to say when they're feeling uncomfortable. And so we try to encourage, partners to have a say. And in fact, I think there's some research I recall that when there was a woman in the car, the male driver drives slower. So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, women can have a good influence on speed as passengers.
Ali, if I can step in here also on the gender issue, I'm very passionate about the gender issue, as you know.
Yes, please.
We actually, we've actually from the World Bank side, World Bank GRSF, we've been working with WHO who for the global plan for the second decade of action for road safety, and gender will be considered in this plan. So I think it is. I mean, we did provide some information on the importance of gender, especially from as Laurie was mentioning, considering high risk for young males, but also the different perspectives into reactions and behaviors, and how women can actually be providing a better influence into road safety overall. So having more women driving, as Som's job is mentioning, if we have more women driving, crashes will definitely go lower, especially serious one with fatalities and serious injuries. So definitely it's a very important point.
Thank you, Alina. We have one question for you, Hormoz. Again, Amira is asking about using the CRF crash reduction factors to maybe prioritizing the speed management interventions that you have in the Iran speed management program, are you using a technique or method to prioritizing the interventions? Which one is more efficient or more useful to work in Iran, or what you're doing to select the interventions? Hormones, can you hear me? Okay. Can you, Greg, speak about this issue? If you can take this question.
I'm sorry, Ali, I couldn't quite get you. I think my connection is not 100%.
Okay. The question is how to, let me combine two questions. First, how to convince decision makers that they start an initiative in speed management, for example, using data, using, I don't know, survey. Do you have any suggestion for that? And also how we can prioritize the interventions that we want to implement. We are talking mostly about the speed management intervention. So how we can, how do you do it in different countries? To, yeah, there are a box of interventions. How do you prioritize these interventions? What's the method, or what's the best tool to do that?
Yeah, right. Okay, so it's a fairly big question, but I'll try and do it fairly quickly. I think one of the first most important things is to collect data, like understand exactly what the situation is, so that you understand what the traffic speeds really are, how they vary during the day, and how they compare to the speed limit, if there is one. Because that data then is very solid. It's not just opinion, it's something that you can point to and say, this is the real situation. Then I think also understanding if there's crash data, understanding and having access to that is very helpful. One other thing that can be very helpful is to talk to the people who live on the street or use the street and understand what their perceptions are and how they feel about that. If you are trying to convince someone that you should be lowering the speed limit and lowering speeds, it helps very much often to have human beings telling a real story about the situation, how they feel about that. So there's three things I would think about initially. And then in terms of what to do, it very much depends on the type of street. If it's a local street, 30-kilometer-hour speed limit is what the theme of the Global Road Safety Week. Usually that will need to be combined with some sort of traffic calming, so some sort of speed humps. I know there's a lot of fear often about speed humps, about how they're designed, but there is also a lot of really good information about how to do it well. And that was part of the point I guess, with my presentation, was trying to find really good case studies of what's been done in other places and how well it's worked can be really powerful. And then in terms of the priority, also on the more major roads, managing speed does become a bit more of a challenge in terms of the design, but definitely not insurmountable. And that design guide that I talked about can be really powerful, give you very practical examples about what could be done. But also the point made earlier about the linkage in the safe system thinking. Police enforcement is usually a really, really important part of this. And we find that you get the best outcomes, like we talked about in Bogota, when you combine good infrastructure with good police enforcement and good engagement with the community. That's when you get a really strong outcome. So you can use the tools that I talked about, like the star rating demonstrator, to help try and prioritize what treatment you think is going to work best in the context that you're working in.
Thank you so much. The next question is for you, Alina, about the speed management hub. And Amira asked again that why we have limited number of actions in the speed management hub for Africa, while it's a major problem in this continent.
Sorry, Ali, I don't. What is it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, the question is about the number of activities you have provided on the Speed Management Hub, and why the question is why we have limited actions for Africa region.
So the Speed Management Hub is global. So anyone can use it. The questions apply globally, and anyone can use it. So that's the first answer. I think maybe the question is around the Bloomberg program on why we have only 3 countries in Africa, and we have maybe more in Asia, and 5. I think we have 5 in Latin America, and 6 in Asia. And this is not necessarily a question that I can answer to, because the 15 countries under the Bloomberg program were selected by the donor, by Bloomberg Philanthropies, and they selected these 3 countries where we are currently working in: Ethiopia, Uganda, and Ghana. Tanzania was also part of the Bloomberg program until last year. So this is what I can tell you under the Bloomberg program. But in general, from World Bank GRSF, what I can tell you is that we have a very strong engagement in Africa overall. So we have all our transport projects, and not only transport, but everything that World Bank is financing in Africa automatically has information on road safety, including speed. So road safety is something mandatory for everything, all our projects financed by the World Bank in Africa. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. And I think we will have one more question before ending the session. The question is that from the John Lambert, that should we focus on fatal and serious crashes when we talk about the speed management, because it is written that they are rare events, or we should consider all of the cars and all type of crashes. Could you take the question, Laurie, please?
Hello.
Again, I'm not very clear about what the question.
Yeah, the question is that should we focus on only fatal and serious crashes when we're talking about the speed management, and looking what they are happening and what we can do with this type of crashes, or looking more general?
Well, I think our job as road safety people is to reduce road injury, and with a safe system, we're never, until everything's automated and decisions taken out of the humans' hands, we'll always have crashes. There'll always be mistakes, and there'll be crashes. So yes, what we want to do in terms of speed management is to reduce the severity. Speed. If you have lower speed crashes, the injuries will be less, and less likely to be fatal. So that's really our focus in road safety. The other crashes, are potentially injurious, but in speed management, the focus really is on reducing injury.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Thank you to all the presenters. Now it's 10 a.m. GMT, and we have to end the session. Just before ending the session, I want to again talk about our next webinars that will happen in coming weeks. Yeah, you can see here. We'll have it on the 2nd, on the Friday, 21st of May, 7:30 to 9 a.m. GMT. That it means 1 hour sooner. Yeah, comparing to what we did it today. So we will have Rod King, Dr. Hafez Alavi, and Dr. Mohsen Falla with us. And a special thanks to Rod King for being active today with us. And I will listen to his presentation on the next webinar. And also for the third one, we'll have with us Arifuddin from World Bank, Tanya from Agilicis, UK, and also we will have Dr. Sina Sahibi, my colleague, and that will talk about the different things. So stay tuned and be with us. for these other two webinars. Thank you, all of you who attended. Thank you so much, our esteemed, distinguished speakers, for joining us for today, and hope to see you for the next two other webinars. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alina, Lori, Greg, and Hormones.
Can you give us opportunity to say a word? Hello? All these people from Nigeria. Hello?